Carrie should probably be along. So you saw your broadcast. I saw 2 moose this morning.
Really?
Up by Mountain Lake. Yeah, on the south end of the lake.
Oh, gosh.
They saw me before I saw them, and they were gone.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought it was neat. It's been a while.
Yeah.
But I haven't been. Has anybody been up on the cut up there yet? Walking around?
They done?
Yeah, I think they still have some material to move, still some logs, but
Where's that?
at the end of Moose Mountain Road.
Oh, Ellis Hatch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was up there last week.
Oh, yeah,
No sign of game anywhere.
yeah,
It's just all leaves. It's nothing.
yeah.
I think it's because of the logging.
Hey, Carrie, yeah. Yeah, be interested to see how it grows back in. Hopefully it's not all beach. You can see it through the dam that's at Mountain Lake, though you can see. Yeah, it probably is like 100-foot buffers.
What are they gonna do with all that? They cut down by May last October, December.
Yeah,
And this year it's sort of sprouting. Deer were all over.
yeah,
Everything's eaten down.
yeah,
Next spring should be a lot of stuff.
yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. All right, it's 7 p.m., Monday, November 13th, 2023. Welcome to the Town of Brookfield Planning Board monthly meeting. Call this meeting to order. We'll run through roll call. I'm Tim Straz, Ed Ingalls. Here. Terry Ward.
Here.
Gus Stratton. Here. Carrie McMenemy.
Here.
Marshall Goldberg.
Here.
Rich Sacker.
Here.
Before we go to our appointment of alternates, we have a community member interested in joining the planning board as an alternate. Rick Surratt, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Do we have anything to say about that?
Yeah, smarten me up.
What do you have to say? Certainly, we always welcome alternates to the board. We have an opening for an alternate, which typically you would have 2 alternates on the board. So if there's nobody opposed, we should welcome. Do we want to vote on it? Do you think we need to?
Doesn't hurt, doesn't hurt.
Yeah, we'll vote.
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
We accept Rick Surratt as an alternate for how many years?
Well, I would say,
3 years, right?
well, the remainder of this year,
Yeah.
and then you would have to,
Until March?
yeah, to March.
Okay.
I'll second it.
I gotta take my notes here. Any discussion? Seeing as Terry has none, all those in favor of welcoming Rick Surratt as an alternate to the planning board, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So now we just need to do the formality.
Now,
Yes.
to get the paperwork in.
He's brought, yeah. Oh, he's gonna do.
Guys on
He has his own copy.
Ah,
You came over prepared.
He did his homework.
You never know.
Oh, his paper is looking different than this one.
There's different ones around, they all mean the same thing.
Yeah.
Raise your hand, please. I state your name.
Richard Surratt,
Do solemnly and sincerely swear
do solemnly and sincerely swear
and affirm that I will faithfully
and affirm that I will faithfully
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
and perform all the duties incumbent upon me
and perform all the duties incumbent upon me
as an alternate to the planning board
as an alternate to the planning board
until the March of next year.
until March of next year, 2024.
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeable to the rules and regulations of the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
agreeable to the
Regulations of
regulations
this Constitution
of the Constitution
and the laws of the state of New
and the
Hampshire.
laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Give you a mouthful there.
That was a lot.
You're gonna have to sign this after the meeting, all right?
Sure.
All right, welcome. So now the next order of business is appointment of alternates. Now we have 2 alternates, but we have 1 vacancy right now. You're pointing at Marshall. Marshall, would you like to be a voting member tonight?
Sure.
Very good. All right, so the first item on our agenda this evening, other than swearing in our new alternate, is a public hearing for subdivision application of Governors and Moose Mountain Roads, tax map 15, lot 2. It is 7:04. I call this hearing to order. I ask those who wish to speak to please sign in so that we can make sure we have everybody accounted for. I've got a pen here. And while that's taking place, I'll just note a couple of rules and procedure. We will go through the agenda as listed. We ask that if you have comments or questions, to please direct them to me as the chair. There should be no cross conversations during our hearing, and we appreciate your patience. All right. Ryan, would you like to have a few moments to present your project?
Yeah, I'm proposing that we subdivide just over 2-acre parcel from the existing lot with frontage on Governor's Road. That would leave a little over 8 acres left to the balance of the lot, largely landlocking most of that acreage. The intent is for a single-family home to be placed on that lot for myself and my dog, and that's the intent.
Great, thank you. You're welcome. All right, we'll open up the floor to public comment. Yes, Mr. Evans?
Yeah, I had a couple questions. One, if this were to be approved, the plat doesn't show the newer construction of a accessory unit on the parent lot. And I would think that since if it gets approved, the date of approval is going to be now, and the structure is there. It may not have been there when the surveyor started drawing all of this, but I think that should be on there. I'm assuming, obviously, that it meets the setbacks required, but I think it should be on the plat. And then the other thing that I wondered about was there's no stamp of the wetland scientist on the plat. It references a survey, wetlands, I guess you'd call it a survey, done in October of '22, if I remember correctly. And I don't know if there's a separate survey for that, or separate plat for that wetland survey. But certainly I would think that this stamp, the wetland scientist, should be on the plat before any approval is issued by the board. And then a third thing, which is a bit of a procedural thing, do you folks have, I've read in your procedural rules, the business about a site visit, and I've also read the definition in the zoning ordinance for what a site visit is. Obviously, it's a fairly simple thing. I wondered whether you have any criteria for when you as a board decide to visit a site and whether or not that's been a consideration for this particular site.
That has not been into consideration for this particular site. My understanding was that site visits typically happen on major subdivision requests, not minors, but I could be wrong.
That's not it, that's
Yeah.
not spelled out that way in your procedures. Your procedures say it's basically a decision of the board.
Yes.
For instance, the two lots that were subdivided across from me, there was a site visit because there were wetlands. Very often it happens, just like the zoning board often does, it happens before you have your hearing. But it can also, according to the definitions in your procedural rules, it can also be a drive-by. It can be done as a group, or it can be done individually, assuming that the landowner gives permission for members of the board to access it.
Very good, thank you.
So with the wetlands on this property and the topographical aspects of this property, I wondered whether or not you all should consider a site visit.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other comments? Yes.
Yeah, I'm Cole Keegan, I would be your neighbor on your left side, I figured you probably knew that, but I had also similar concerns with this gentleman about your existing building that wasn't on here. Also was assuming that it probably met the 40 feet setback. I guess I don't really have too many concerns at this point, but I would definitely be hopeful that you guys are, where this is so tight, it's going to be right in front of my house, basically. Where it's so tight to all these wetlands and setbacks, I just am hopeful that you guys kind of hold them to it, just because I know it's wet in there and it's pretty close to my property line. I just hope everybody's doing the right thing,
Yes. Thank you, Cole.
Sure.
Yes.
And I'm Sarah Rigg, I'm the across the
Across.
street abutter. And actually, I think I remember that a few years ago, there was a request for a subdivision for a house there.
Moose Mountain.
Yes, does it follow the same, is this a different subdivision? It's not the same plan that was suggested and then it wasn't. Because I remember that there had been a request to divide the property, but I didn't think the construction was followed through on.
So this is a subdivision on top of what was done.
Okay, it's an
previous,
additional
So
one.
it was not planned in that time frame.
Okay, so it wasn't planned in that time frame. And I haven't been able to get here while offices are open because I have a long commute. Is the physical lot of the house going to be close then to Governor's Road this time? And will it be taking down all the trees that are between Governor's Road and the new?
So Ryan has to follow the setback requirements for a building permit in order to construct. So we can't, as a board, can't dictate what he does with his property other than ensure that he is following the zoning rules. So that would be the extent of my answer for that.
So I guess my question is, how visible is it going to be from where we are across the street?
I'm happy to answer that. I just don't want to
I know,
break the
I'm
quorum
supposed
here
to.
with the crosswalk, so.
Go for it.
So, my plan is to leave as many of those trees along the road as possible. I'm opening up for a driveway, narrow driveway will come back. The anticipated location of the house is just beyond the new garage on the adjacent property.
Okay,
So that won't be in holding towards the Moose Mountain side. So, roughly, I'm gonna be like right here, that's the new garage, that's where I'm planning to be. So that's the new garage, I'm planning to be, somewhere in this
Right
area.
about here.
So here,
Okay.
I'm leaving all of this
Okay,
except for the driveway because I don't want to hear the road noise. If
Exactly.
I can, and I like the trees. I'm taking
Exactly.
down the big problem ones.
right,
That are going to be a risk.
right.
But the intent is to leave as much
The
there
intent is to
as
have some
possible.
shelter then between Governor's Road and the new house.
Yes, yeah, and I don't like mowing the lawn, so.
Fair.
I'm gonna-
I have a lot of
I
lawn, I
like-
feel that.
I like the trees and the ground coverage.
Oh, good to know, thank you.
Great. Any other public comment or questions? Very good. All right, so we'll move on to the next, which is the board will discuss this application, review the public comments. Go from there. So board members,
What's the total frontage, you know?
I don't know, you have to look at that map.
Yeah, I'm looking, just gotta add them up.
I tried. I tried.
103 and 98. So that's basically 203.
What's that? Here's a bigger one.
Well, the back is 270, right? 271.
Frontage is gonna be on Governor's Road, right?
Yes, yeah.
So I see, okay, 13, 21, that's 34, 62, that's roughly.
Yep. Track the road.
Yeah.
Run over it.
150, yeah, it's just about.
Not clear,
How are you today?
not clear where the house is.
We have,
Looks like 201 feet.
this Mylar is,
201.72 frontage.
Yes.
Supposed to be over 250.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's two here sideways now, you see those, 21.8, and then 13 flexes.
we look at this one.
Last house was bigger.
Why don't you ask the applicant how many feet it is? He should know the answer.
Yes.
Better than what I want.
I tried to edit it.
No, I'll just add it. I got it right here.
I guess that's true. This is the plot right here, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All of our tools, these tools.
Is this different?
Buy
Oh, okay. I got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Will it be coming out of this mountain or will it be coming out of Governor's?
Coming out.
269 feet.
Oh, no, I haven't looked at that. That's helpful if you don't mind.
Do you know where the house is gonna be? Where's he proposing the house?
Oh, I see, there's an extra.
Well, he has to be, it's actually a fairly small area because he
Yeah,
has.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
You're holding a meeting, you're deliberating, I can't hear you.
Ryan, I'm gonna have to ask you to please refrain from
Oh, I'm
discussing.
sorry.
That's
No,
what I got
that's
it
all right.
Okay.
Here?
What's that?
That's the house there.
Yeah, and this is the proposed driveway, isn't that right? So it's in the middle of the stone wall.
So we have a newer, so this, yep,
I don't see it if you have these up.
Yeah, I got 260,
I got 269
269.88.
from here to here.
What's this number? We can add those up.
Yep, so we had 33, 98, 41,
Okay.
62, 21, and 13.
Yeah, that one's easier to read.
Okay, yeah,
And I don't see the new structure on the plan, right?
this is correct.
It's on that one.
It's on this
It's
small
not
one.
exclusive. Just
Well, that's a proposed house location on that one. So we're missing on this the existing,
Sorry, man,
yes, Ryan?
comment on that?
Yep.
I forgot to earlier. So the new structure was a game time decision. This application was being turned in as we decided to do the new structure.
Yes,
So that's why it wasn't represented on this, given the long lead on this application.
yes.
I mean, you know, I can certainly have it added.
Yeah, I
But it
think,
does meet the setbacks.
I think from,
270 roughly,
Yeah.
269.
And this plan was used for the application submittal,
yes,
so that property line was referenced in that application.
yes.
This is one of them.
So I think from a technical standpoint, so one of the questions from the public was about having the wetland stamp, scientist stamp on the drawing. This does exist on the latest Mylar. I think from a technical standpoint, we need both sheets to be on Mylar to Ryan. So the second sheet,
Oh. Okay.
you're referencing two sheets here. So both sheets have to be on Mylar for our submission if we approve it.
That was stamped too.
Yeah. So this is the new second sheet.
The wetland stamp?
Yes. The wetland stamp is also on the first sheet.
I don't, is that there wrong?
Yes, it is. Yes, that's the certified wetland scientist. I mean, the comments are, it's a pretty small area to put a house in, considering the setbacks from the wetland setbacks, 75 feet and 50 feet from the boundary line, road. But we have all the frontage. There was comment from the public about a site visit. Does the board want to do a site visit of this lot before?
Yeah, well, it's easy enough to do.
Tim,
Yes.
what is the enforcement of the setbacks for this structure as it is built, to make sure that it is 75 from wetlands, 50 from the road, 40 from next door?
That would be the building inspector. would
And
have
if we have one, if we don't have one, what happens?
Selectmen. When he applies for a building permit, he's going to show us the setbacks from all the restrictions. And if they're violated, to cease and desist.
Yes, Ryan?
So, yeah, that's, because of the tight constraints, I will ensure that that's in the building permit application. I'm also in the industry, in areas in some municipalities in the past where we've dealt with tight constraints with setbacks, the towns have required that the foundation be certified, and I have to pay for Barry to come back out and certify that. They'll pin the location, put it back on the plan, and certify that I did achieve the setbacks after the foundation was poured, and be happy to do that, just for everybody's peace of mind.
How big of a house are you planning to build? Do you have any ideas?
It's roughly 1,100 square feet. It's 983 with a bump out for a stair to get downstairs to the basement. Single story.
Carrie, any questions from your side? From the other side of the room?
Not at this moment?
Yeah, we want to get the chance to pan over that way.
Yeah, okay.
My comment is, until we get the plot updated, I don't think we can approve it.
I agree with you. From discussion, there's a couple items. One would be the new structure added to the existing lot. And then we would need, from a technical standpoint, to be able to sign this, we would have to have both sheets on Mylar for submission.
Should we do a site visit, given the tightness?
We can, if you like.
Does that one show the new building?
It does not.
No.
That's it there. Oh, what do you-
No, that's the, no, it's the new, there's a new, there's a,
Yeah, there's a new one over here that doesn't show.
Right. So Ryan, we just have to capture, if we were to approve this today, we would have to capture all of the site conditions as it is today.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I wish I knew that ahead of time, because I couldn't put the plan that didn't, yeah. So I needed to redo the Mylar anyways, but I couldn't put the shed that didn't exist on the application. That wasn't, that was already submitted, so.
yes, I got it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I'll wait another, yeah.
So I would say we want to continue this hearing for next month to allow Ryan the opportunity to update Tyler and provide us with those details. Is there anything else that we need to sort out? All right, so we will close the hearing.
The only question is, can you get it done in a month, do you think?
I can get it done by tomorrow. I just, yeah, I have the building permit ready to go, it's, I mean, everything, yeah, the only, I'm ready, I got all my ducks in a row on construction, I'm just trying to get in before winter, I
Yeah.
would be, yeah. So that's where I'm at, but, yeah, I know the Barry's, relatively well, I can go there tomorrow and get another Mylar printed, I'm reasonably confident.
And,
So.
and update with the shed
plot,
structure.
yeah, certainly this week, so.
Do we want to?
They did survey it.
Do we want to try to meet again before December 11th to help a neighbor out?
4 or 5 days of warm weather coming up.
Do we want to reconvene next week?
I'd be willing to do it if everybody else will do it. Because once the ground freezes, it's tough.
Yep. So we will reconvene on the 20th. Is that what I'm hearing?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
$7:00?
7 o'clock, November 20th? All right.
This next Monday, right?
Yep. So I will officially close the hearing at 7:26. The board will continue this public hearing for next Monday, the 20th of November at 7 o'clock. Very good.
Thank you all very much.
You're welcome.
You need these back?
No, you can hold on to those. Ryan, do you want these? Jeez. Sorry about that. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you Monday.
Site visit before that date?
I'm sorry?
Should we do a site visit before that date if we're going to do one?
I don't feel like we need to if the proposed houses on
Oh, it's on the
the
map.
Mylar that we get.
So you have some opportunity to put the garage on the Mylar, huh?
Yes. Yep. We capture. All right. Any public comments? Seeing no public comments, we do not have any announcements, correspondence, or mail. Review and possible approval of minutes from October 9th, 2023. Make the motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving the minutes from October 9th, 2023, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And some of you are going to abstain. 3 of you. Old business, gravel pit inspections. What's the latest, greatest?
Well, Kerry called me to do an inspection, but the guys that they were doing the inspection on, they had done quite a bit of work for us, so I had to recuse myself.
Sure. Thank you. So we have the 2 pits. Okay, Carrie, you have your filled out form. Excellent.
Carry it, special bonus, photos.
Extra credit.
Very thorough job.
Excellent. Awesome.
All right.
So you visited the Smith pit. Awesome. Great. Thank you.
We didn't do any photos with
Yeah,
us.
we didn't do photos. Terry
It
and I
was
visited
pouring the day we went.
Yeah.
A couple inches of mud there. So we didn't find anything other than the fact that there's no reclamation, document, which supposedly his daughter's working on.
Okay.
And away from that, there's, we just wrote on the notes there, there's some kind of equipment, detritus, that's Eddie Nason's, that supposedly is leaving piece by piece over the course of
A decade.
a fair amount of time.
Yes.
And that was kind of all collected in one area. It wasn't like scattered around.
Okay. And you put the notes in the inbox? Or?
Richard,
That was there. I gave it to you, he gave it to me.
No, you gave me this. This
Yes,
was
that was it.
that's the agenda.
I'm sorry. I put it in the box.
Okay.
Richard,
All right, thank you. Great, thank you very much for getting that together and sorting it out. One less item for next month, that's great. The next item is update on subdivision regulations. So Ed was kind enough to go through and provide an update to Article 10, the final development of waterfront lots. Did anybody have an opportunity to take a peek at it? It's 19. Well, you can look at this one, so I printed it out with the updates, proposed updates.
Okay, I read that. You sent that to us.
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
Yep.
I read that. Read through it.
Is there any comments or questions or thoughts? You want to read it?
I like that.
As alternate? Get you up to speed?
Catch up on that.
Yes.
So if a lot has 250 feet and they want to subdivide it, they would somehow have to find another 250 feet of frontage, right? The way I understood this.
Yeah, it has to be on Kingswood Lane and on a class 5 or private road that has been authorized by the planning board.
Is this the new text?
That is that's the proposed, yes.
Good.
Where's it currently?
Where's what?
The frontage requirement. Is 250 currently, or?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I do have a question, Ed Goff here.
Yes, Ed, go for
I'm a
it.
citizen of the town, not a representative of the Board of Selectmen. On Article 10, it says, when subdividing, each lot must have a minimum of an additional 250 feet of contiguous frontage. Does that mean you have to have 500 feet of frontage to come up with 2 lots, or you need to have 1,000 feet of frontage? The term additional is, to me, a little confusing.
I think it's additional 200 feet of lake frontage and 250 feet of road frontage.
It doesn't.
Is that,
I was under the same impression, that's why I asked the question earlier. 'Cause
Okay.
it sounded like they were going to have to come up with an additional 250 feet somewhere.
That's the way I'm
Yes.
reading it. I'm right.
well, I think the intent is to align with the zoning that we updated last election cycle, because our subdivision regulations aren't in sync with what our zoning regulations are.
I think I understand the intent.
Yeah.
My question is the way it was worded. It
Yeah.
doesn't seem to be that. Doesn't seem to meet that intent.
Okay, that's why we're reviewing it. So what, how do we want to rewrite that section?
Well, instead of additional, each should have,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
each new lot should have 250 feet.
Right, and I think that meets the
Makes it
intent.
clearer.
The word additional is confusing to me.
Yeah.
So just strike the word additional, I think we're good.
Yes.
Mr. Surratt, you have my only copy there.
Well, you're on a block.
Well, I want to mark that up because I have to write it in the notes.
Oh, right.
We can make a photocopy here and I can give it back to you. Thank you.
You could just strike additional, and it still fits, still works.
Okay. All right, is there anything else on this item? Certainly, if there's nothing else on that, we should be looking at other parts of the subdivision regulations in case there are other items we need to amend. And then we can have a public hearing to put in action.
There's something highlighted up above,
Yeah, that was,
something about the planning board document.
it's not the planning board, what was it? I see it, it was yellowed.
Page 3.
Here it is. As shown on a plan approved by the planning board, yes, it's underneath,
Oh,
under layout.
yep. Okay. So why don't I, for the December meeting, I'll go through, make these updates, and make one last look through it. And then we could probably, when we conduct our public hearing for warrant articles, we could probably enact these changes at the same time. If that sounds good to folks.
I wasn't here at the last meeting, but looking at the minutes, was there any discussion about the public comments that Mr. Evans proposed?
We're getting to that. It's the next item.
Oh, okay.
Congratulations, we've made it. So we have 3 items. So we have proposed zoning ordinance review. I've drafted the 3 items on a separate document just so we can keep track of them as we usually do. The first one was our solar energy systems ordinance. So certainly we discussed this a bit last month, but now that we have the full board here, I'll just kind of repeat what I had put together. This essentially is the Durham, New Hampshire Solar Energy Systems Ordinance. I've stripped away because they have 5 different zones within their town. I've stripped those away and trimmed it down to the 2 that we have. I did my best to try to maintain some of the language there. We discussed some setback changes potentially last month with regards to the small and large energy systems. I don't know if members who didn't make it last month, if they have any comments to add on to that. Mr. Zachary.
My only comment is on the building mounted solar energy, first paragraph. First paragraph on page 1.
The definition?
Yes. I looked at some of these ordinances in other towns, and when they talk about building mounted, they talk about it being parallel to the roof,
Okay,
as opposed to possibly being angles.
yes.
So I would suggest that on the second line, that a building that is, it completely supportive of a building that is parallel to the system.
Yeah, built by a building that is parallel
To the existing roof.
to the roof slope. And does not extend. So solar energy system attached to and completely supported by a building that is parallel to the roof slope and does not extend more than 5 feet beyond the building footprint.
Should we deal with that 9C where it talks about building mounted systems? Maximum height, 10 feet above the roof, it must be parallel.
Where are you at, Dave?
9C, other provisions.
Yeah, for building mounted systems, the maximum height for any part of the system is 10 feet above the ridge of the roof of the primary building, or 10 feet above the highest part of the roof of the primary building where there is no ridge. So, I mean, yeah, if you have somebody with a shallow sloped roof, then they're going to want to have it potentially angled.
It's not parallel.
Right. So I think that's what this C, as Ed is pointing out, may accommodate that.
So it can still be 10 feet angled though, right? The way that 9C is written.
Yes.
Oh, the way I interpreted it was 9 feet above the ridge.
Yeah.
So it's on the roof, but it extends up beyond the ridge.
Yeah, but I think you can't, because of the 5 feet we were just talking about.
So
5 feet beyond the building footprint.
it's not above the footprint.
Right, that's true. Good point.
Picky.
Yep, no, you're right.
You need to strike that if you want to maintain the characteristic of the house.
Right.
Stay within the footprint of the roof and be the same distance off of the roof.
Yeah, why the 5 feet? Doesn't it violate the setback potentially if you're, exactly 40 feet, all of a sudden you're 35 feet?
That's a good question. I think the reference is a solar energy system, so that may mean if you have any transformer or anything, maybe equipment that would be on the ground. That way you're saying it has to be within certain feet of the house. You can't have like a secondary transformer or something set off in the middle of the yard. I don't know. Yeah, what you got?
I have a question too. If somebody's house is set back 50 feet from the road and it meets it to the inch, and you're allowing a 5-foot extension beyond the roof line, is that going to violate, or would it be allowed under those conditions? Because now the footprint of the house is 45 feet away from the road and not 50.
Yeah.
Yes, you would not allow it?
Well, no, so we haven't, this is part of our discussion here of trying to understand how we're going to build this zoning. Let's talk about these issues, potential issues.
Well, in theory, code enforcement should come in and say, you can't do that because you're too close. You have to
Right,
move it to the roof line.
right,
They'll have to meet all setbacks.
right.
I mean, that could be an easy statement to make. I mean,
Yeah, we measure the overhangs, not the foundations, we measure the overhangs.
absolutely.
Aside from aesthetics, is there a reason that you think the panels should be parallel to the roof? If it's, let's say if the building's not visible from the road, if it's set back, or it's like an auxiliary building.
Well, this is to have a part in the zoning where they can just go ahead and do it.
Yes.
So if it's within the footprint of the roof and it doesn't change the shape or the look of the house regardless of where it is, that's something that we would not restrict at all. So if you want to stay within the footprint of your roof, you can go ahead and do it.
You're including the roof line?
Rich was saying that it has to be parallel.
Yeah,
The panels have to be parallel to the roof line.
right.
You still need a
So
building permit.
if you have a
Same
roof,
pitch, yeah.
Yeah, so you'd have to have a building permit no matter what in order to
Right.
install any system.
if the building's not visible from the road, and you have a pitch that's not high enough to get optimal solar exposure,
Then you're gonna have to have a site visit.
site visit, okay.
So does that mean that person can't get a solar panel?
I don't know.
Potentially?
Quite
If
possibly.
it's like
yeah.
this, and you'd have to be like this to get any,
Well,
Right.
the other alternative is you're forcing them into doing freestanding installation.
Or you go to the ZBA and say, this is what I have, you can't see it from the road,
Right.
it meets all the other requirements, what's the town think? Right, this is the one that, this is easy to put one in, and if it's not, if it doesn't meet the requirements, then you go to the ZBA or to the planning
You
board.
get a variance.
This is trying to avoid trouble for people that want to do solar. We don't want to come across as not wanting solar, but at the same time, we got to be respectful of the other neighbors. And we had a good example of that recently.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
So this is the part we're trying to craft that says, if you meet these requirements, go do it, just get a building permit,
Yeah.
nothing special.
Yep.
Other than that, you gotta check.
Yep. One of the discussions from last month was around the freestanding units being 150 feet from the property line instead of 100 feet. That was one of the comments, was to make it for small, large scale, and for large net metering, was to have a larger setback. Does that still ring true for folks this month?
It's a lot, 150 feet.
to me, that if the single family number is 150, why would the more commercial looking
Yeah.
be 100? Anything, they should be the opposite.
So it's, so for everybody else who doesn't have this in front of them, the wording is freestanding systems shall be set back at least 100 feet from the front property line. The system shall be buffered from single-family homes, neighboring roads, and abutting properties in accordance with the site plan regulations and as reasonably determined by the planning board.
Well, freestanding units, that's like on a pedestal, subject to review. I mean, I can't say that we will, but just imagine if someone wants to do a freestanding, and a review we could be very lenient on setbacks if hiding the thing where it's not going to be visible by the street comes closer to unoccupied or unused land.
Right. Yes, Carrie?
And does that include all the rotation angles, like as it is
Yeah.
moving and?
So these two items are for utility scale
Okay.
setups. So to Ed's point is why is the setback less for utility scale installation than it is for somebody residential?
So for example, in 4C, you know, it says the system is placed where it is largely not visible from a public road, abutting property, blah, blah, blah. And I think the whole point we were worried about was just, do you see it or don't you see it?
Right.
Right? And then what's that language? And then how do you interpret that so that it's not vague? And then how do you enforce it, whether it's after the fact or, you know, you're gonna grow vegetation, but then you never, you know, who checks to see if that ever happens? And what should that, you know, do you want to specify how tall those trees have to be when you put it in, so you don't have to, so that's just my only comment.
I think Durham had some language around within 10 years or within 5 years or something like that. You're proposing to plant trees, basically.
I can't recall. Yep.
But if you have C1, it says it's placed where it's largely not visible, you don't really need 150 feet of setback.
Right. Unless you're on a corner lot, potentially.
Right.
Yes, Craig?
When you say utility, are you talking about an array
Yes,
that's not necessarily linked to a single-family
correct.
residence? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So if Moose Mountain Recreation decided to get rid of the disc golf and turn all of that into an array, he would be required to have some kind of foliage blocking it from Moose Mountain Road.
Yep. Yes, the Durham zoning covers seems all possible potential use installations in their community, which was helpful for trying to craft this. Yeah.
So this is Durham, not New Durham?
This is the Durham, the UNH Durham.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I would propose making the commercial 150. And if somebody wants to also propose making the 150 to
Residential
100.
100,
Either flip-flop them or make them all 150.
any part of the system that will closer than 100 feet.
Simpler is better, right?
Yeah, because I mean, especially small lots, I mean, especially in Durham, how can they do 150 feet? I mean, the lots are only quarter acres, so especially downtown. I mean,
Durham's a big town.
right, but I mean, to stick with 150 feet in a town that's only got small lots, very small lots.
So your proposal is 150 feet for everything or 100 feet for everything? Or is that the discussion?
Let's have a discussion.
All right. Does anybody have So we would update the residential to be 100 feet to match the commercial setback.
100 feet isn't very.
150
far.
on both,
You want one, or you
on
want,
all of
you want 150 on all of them?
them.
Yes. I
Okay.
do.
Or 150 on the commercial and 100 on residential.
150 is not very far. 100 isn't very far.
Right.
So simpler is better, I think.
150.
150 across the board.
All right, 150 it is.
Yeah, that would generate a discussion, CBA or whatever, we can always back off.
Yeah.
That's right.
Ed?
Did I hear you say it'd be 100 or 150 from the road or from the property line? What's the point of
From
reference?
the property line.
From the property, I
So
thought it
it's
had
the
said road.
on the utility, it's a property line on, let me just check,
Residential says public road.
residential is public road.
Do we want to leave it a public road or,
Private, make it the property line.
I think,
Clear it up. From
be
the prop-
consistent.
From the property line.
All right. Any other thoughts on this before we move on? Yes, Ed?
You're looking for new issues, new questions?
Yeah, go for it.
On Article 20, Item 4, it talks about single-family residential energy systems. Coming from Durham, I can understand these numbers possibly, but it says a maximum size of 30 kilowatt, which is a lot.
Yep.
Or occupy a ground area up to 1,800 square feet, which again is a lot. So if you're talking about single-family residential, I think those numbers could be cut in half and still be adequate. I mean, Durham has a lot of industry, a lot of power use for whatever. They have lights everywhere.
Yep.
But if we're talking rural Brookfield, does it need to be that high?
I don't know if you should put a limitation on the kilowatt hour
Right.
usage because, the government is talking about mandating electric ranges and, charging stations, things like that. So I think it's not, I don't think it would be wise to put a kilowatt limit.
Okay, I'm posing it as a question if that's the
Yeah.
way the board feels.
Well, I think you're limited to the transformer that's going to be on the pole outside your house, on the street. That's what the limiting factor to your generation. So a 30 kilowatt transformer would be massive. So I personally don't see, we don't know, say 10 years for now, the efficiency of the solar system may grow. So a smaller amount of square footage generates more power, we don't know. So I think we have to start somewhere.
Let's
You know,
stay with
change
the
it.
high limit.
I'm sorry?
Let's stay with the high limit.
Yeah. What else you got, Ed?
Well, that was the only.
That's the only one?
On that one.
Well, we're gonna move on to another topic, so what I'll do is I'll amend these, we'll discuss once we get to these other two next steps. Yes, sir.
I remembered what it was, I can't find it right now, but there was a section in here that talks about, not disposal, but when you take it down, decommissioning.
Yes.
There isn't anything specific addressing lithium, and I don't know if there needs to be. I'm throwing it out there as a question. Lithium is a very extremely hazardous material, and I got a strong suspicion there'll be lawsuits for 10, 15 years down the road about it. But it's something that I think if we can do something now to protect our environment, I think we should. But I don't know what that looks like.
Yes, so we're just talking about solar panels here rather
Right,
than
you're not addressing
storage.
the battery side.
Right, so if people have batteries, which
they do for solar, that's a storage medium.
No, not, you can have a solar array and not have a battery backup storage system. So that,
The solar array charges the batteries.
if you have the batteries. If you don't have the batteries, it just goes back to the grid.
Well, if you're off the grid, then you would have batteries,
Right, or you'd be dark at night,
right?
yes.
So I mean, either way, either way, it would be, if you don't have batteries, then it doesn't apply, but if you do have batteries.
Right,
We've got to make sure that we're doing the right thing.
yeah.
Would we need to coordinate with, since Wakefield, the disposal facility there, wouldn't we need to coordinate with them in terms of setting up
Well, I mean,
some
we
sort of...
certainly don't want to cut them off to the transfer station.
No, you wouldn't, a system like that, you would not.
What if in decommissioning, we add disposal of photovoltaic panels and other associated equipment, including batteries? Including any batteries?
How do you enforce that?
Yeah, how do you enforce it? That's the question, like
I
in,
mean, I want to throw a battery away.
Yeah.
How does the town get involved before you throw a battery away?
right. And
Well, we're telling them they can't throw away the panels.
only if there's a site plan, only if there's a site plan review. So if you don't have a site plan review, you don't have to submit a decommissioning plan.
Do commercial businesses that install these systems have regulations that they get adhered to as far as reclamation?
Yes. They do.
It's in the Durham code has, I think, a longer paragraph on it.
Well, let's bring that to next month's discussion, do some research, and we'll see how we'll amend it. Move on to the next item, where we are, it's 8 o'clock. Next item is building lot requirements, 5 acres. I have kind of knocked together an article 2A, 2.A, building lot requirements. We certainly need to answer some questions on to how we want to write this, but the gist of it is the minimum lot size permitted shall be 217,800 square feet, 5 acres, and which shall include a minimum buildable area of, and we need to figure out what that area would be and whether or not we need to adjust it by slope. Well, let's discuss first.
Oh, sorry.
Ed. Let the board have a chat first, please.
Now, how's that going to affect the subdivision application we received today?
It doesn't affect it at all, because it's not we haven't passed anything.
Right, I'm just saying, that's, but
Yeah,
the cart before the horse, or, I mean, we're kind of,
Probably would be given grandfather, I would imagine.
well, nothing would happen, because this isn't a ordinance yet.
Correct.
We only discuss things that have been approved by the town.
right, okay.
So this is talking about changing what we would have, how it would be. So if Mr. Evans brought the 5 acre lots last month, and Mr. Gothier brought it 2 months ago as an item to discuss. So let's discuss.
Why would we change the slope requirements? Why would we change any of these characteristics?
Well, I did some poking around, and different communities have up to like 15% would be 144,000 square feet of buildable area. We have to set the requirement is of space that they can build on. So we'd have to have a calculation done on the plot,
Today, we say
square footage.
X% of the 2 acres has to be this. Would we carry that forward? I'm sorry, I don't know what it says.
Yeah, it just needs to be approved, whatever, we could do the same percentage as it currently is. That's why I wanted to, I wasn't gonna write something in until we discussed what we wanted to do. Whether it be 40% or 50%. Yes, Mr. Alternate.
I'm new here.
Yes, you are.
So, is the spirit of this increase to 5 acres meant to address density in the town, or meant to reduce current use land in the town?
My understanding is density.
So, the town consists of very few roads, and there's a lot of deep tracts of land. So, 5 acres, in my opinion, would do nothing to decrease density. It would just continue as status quo. But to decrease density, it's my opinion that you should increase the frontage. You can keep it 2 acres and double frontage. That would address the density. And of course, to address what Terry started to mention, was anything that's already set in place stays that way.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Before we get public opinion, any other comments from Carrie or the gentleman on the side?
I like the idea of reducing the density. I'm wondering what happens to somebody that owns 4 acres that wants to build a house someday. Are they out of luck? And then secondly, somebody that's got 20 acres, they now can theoretically create 10 lots. They would only be able to create 4 lots. So are they just out of luck?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, the one with 4 acres would,
Be grandfathered, right?
that would fall under the current zoning. But that one with 20 acres, yeah, if he's not subdivided now, it's gonna increase his lots.
So the 4 would still be okay?
Yes, yes, because that's already established. It's if you were to subdivide from when this was enacted forward.
That's the key word, supplement.
Yeah.
But the guy with the 20 lots, the ordinance prevents 10 houses.
Right.
Reduces it down to 4.
Okay.
And if you change the frontage, it might reduce it to 1 or 2.
Mr. Evans, go for it.
Yeah, my intention, and I think I discussed it when I presented this at the last meeting, was not only the acreage increase, but also road frontage. But I was leaving that up to the board to decide. I was thinking 350 minimum road frontage, maybe even 400 to go with the 5 acres. And the whole reasoning was about subdivisions of the few large lots, more than few large lots that we have left in town.
Yeah, so you're gonna end up with a lot of vacant lots, right? 250 feet on the road, and 5 acres by going back a country mile.
Right. So you increase the road frontage as well as the acreage.
What's the board think of that?
I think they're correct. I can see some of these large parcels with 250 feet, and it goes back, I call it a country mile, vacant land. Right? And that's not the intent, I don't believe.
So what's a reasonable distance of frontage?
I'll back off the 500 to 400.
Ed, do you have a comment?
Yeah, for, just strictly from a visual perspective, if you just drive down the road, a couple hundred yards where the old barn is, on the left-hand side, if you assume that the fields on either side of that equal 4 acres, you could put a house on either side of that barn. It's all part of the big lot, so it hasn't been subdivided yet. But if someone wanted to subdivide and it was 5 acre zoning, they couldn't put a house on either side without chopping out 5 acres, and if there's only 4 available.
Well, they would just make the lot deeper. Right.
Understand, yeah, they could do that. But then they, on the 2 acres, and they make a lot deeper, now you're talking about there could be 4 houses over there instead of 2, because you have to stack them up, 2 and 2, 2 and 2. So the 5 acres is certainly, you use density as a term, I think it's a preservation issue. We have a rural character of this town, we've grown a lot in the last couple of years. Nobody knows what the future's gonna bring, but I think we want to give the future generations something preserved, something that they can look at and rely on and enjoy as we have. Another issue with 5 acre zoning also is self-sustained. You can actually have a self-sustaining homestead on 5 acres of land. You can't do it with 2. It's not enough. You'd run out of a wood supply at some point.
What do you think about having 2 amendments? One says 5 acres, and then the next one saying frontage. Do you think one would pass and not? My concern is if you make one 500 feet and 5 acres, probability is it's not gonna pass.
Yeah.
But if you split it, then people might agree, yeah, 5 acres is good, but I don't wanna go to 400 feet right yet. So we might, to get it passed, if we believe in it, we might wanna go with 2 proposed changes.
I think that's sensible. Yes?
So then we're okay, I think we're okay with the 5 acres. Then the next question is how much frontage do we think we should have? And I would suggest, I'd love to do some math, right? And start to divide 5 acres and by some numbers to see what is a reasonable frontage. If it's 400 feet, how deep is it? I have no idea. I gotta do some math on that, sketch it out. Because the developer is not gonna put a road in, it's gonna take the number we give them and go back. Unless they start putting roads in.
It's 44,000 square feet, right, approximately.
5 times that is what, 1D, 5 times that's 200?
217, that's what it says right on there.
All right, 200 divided by 400 is what, 500? 500 feet deep?
545.
540, that's 400 across the front, 5 acres would give you 500 feet back. It's almost a square lot, that's reasonable, I think.
All right, so I will add a second amendment article. This will be to Article 2A 2.c. So all lots must have 400 feet of contiguous frontage. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, and then the lots must be provided, then are we changing, are we changing frontage of lakefront folks? 250 still, or does that change?
Most of that 250 frontage is already owned, isn't it? Isn't all that property privately owned?
Well, you have to have the 400 feet of road frontage plus the 250 feet of lake frontage.
But you can't retroactively do that. Propose that,
But
right?
anything that's subdivided from when, if this is enacted forward, would have to comply to it.
When we write an article like that, can we put a sentence in there that current lots are unaffected?
It's only subdivisions that's
Yeah.
impacted.
Yeah.
So all current lots are okay, as long as you meet the current setbacks.
Right.
So we'll leave 250 feet of lake frontage for now.
No comment, I'm on the lake, I can't come back. I don't want to come.
I will just write it, we'll discuss it.
The lake's all divided up already anyway.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
We have to do anything with Cedar Park? Is there anything that's more than 2 acres that could be subdivided there?
Yeah.
Is there, 5 acre parcel that we should be?
Well, we have that captured here. lots that are less than 2 acres in the area included in Cedar Park subdivision as defined by the plan of record on July 9th, 1962, and it discusses their setback. Yeah, setback.
There's a couple of big lots left there.
Is there? So that would restrict anything that was potentially done there. All right, so I will add all that with 400 feet. All right, we'll add another one, no problem. So as far as the buildable area, I mean, I can put a number on it and we can go from there. All right. Moving on to the last one, which was lots located on Class 6 roads. So this is add Article 2A2.ci, or lots having at least 350 feet of frontage on a Class 6 road may, upon successful completion of the permit process as set forth in RSA 674-41 and Brookfield regulations, be developed with one structure. Subdivision of lots whose sole access or frontage is on a Class 6 road shall not be permitted.
I got a couple of comments.
Go for it.
We have a lot of Class 6 roads in town, more than you might suspect. And a lot of them have lots on them, not just one big parcel. So when we think about this, we're not just thinking about those lots that abut Class 5 roads.
Yeah.
We're talking about lots all over the place.
Right. So, yeah, so to that point, I mean, we've discussed this
Yes,
a
we
couple
have.
of years ago for several months. And I do believe one of the discussions there was having a distance from a Class 5 road as a limitation to prevent that from happening. Whether we say, 1,000 feet down a Class 6 road from a Class 5 road, 1,500 feet, we can set a distance.
I think that would be a good first step if we do it. We also have some roads in town that I hate to see any development on. We have a road called Genis Road that a lot of people don't even know about. That is on the very tippity top of this town. It's got to be 5-6 miles from here. And to get the road agent up there to do any maintenance is crazy. Today, we don't maintain it at all.
Right.
So, where's that go? Maybe we want to say on the following Class 6 roads, as opposed to all Class 6 roads. I mean, some of our Class 6 roads go to other towns. So,
Yeah.
so you're going to have development coming in from other towns.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, we have Class 6 road zoning in place right now. And that was voted on some time ago. So if there's a need to do something with Class 6 roads, perhaps the warrant or the question on the ballot would be for the planning board to ask permission of the town to develop a plan to use Class 6 roads for residents.
That might be a good compromise, because I don't know
Should we do this?
how much effort we put into it if it gets voted down. Why don't we just ask, should we put effort into it at all? Or is the feeling, no, we don't want to do it?
And just let people know that we're thinking about developing Class 6 roads. What do they think about that? Should we move forward with that or not?
That seems, all right. I'll refrain. Go ahead.
One of the big discussions we had, I remember a couple of
Yes,
years ago,
yes.
was emergency vehicles being able to
And snow
pass
plowing and
snow plowing, and Miss McGillicuddy has a heart attack, and the ambulance can't get down the Class 6 road because it's all rutted up and beat up, and, I mean, the town is responsible to make sure emergency vehicles
No,
get
they're
to
not.
these places.
we're not.
They're not.
They're not?
No, the whole principle behind this, Wolfboro has it, New Durham has it, I don't know about Wakefield. There's a waiver. It's a very simple process. The meat of the ordinance or the warrant ends up in the hands of the Board of Selectmen who set a policy for how it's administered. But the RSA, which was distributed at the last meeting, clearly says any town can allow building, and you just waive all of that, and the town has no responsibility. We had a waiver, which apparently was on your website until about 6 months ago, that was drawn up by the town attorney back in the 80s, where the builder, the owner, the property owner, waived all their rights. The selectmen, by policy, ordinance, could say, can somebody who lives on a class 6 road fix it up themselves? Or they could say, no, you can't touch it. You know, that's all stuff that the town takes hold of, but the state RSA clearly says, yes, you can build on class 6 roads pursuant to da-da-da-da-da-da.
Unless your local zoning overrides that, and our zoning says you
Right.
cannot.
That's why I'm suggesting the warrant.
Cole, go for it.
What are you guys proposing exactly, before I start in?
So so some history, 2 years ago, there was a resident who was inquiring about building on class 6 roads, and we discussed what we did a kind of a survey of all the possible properties in town that would be impacted and affected, and we discussed what possible zoning would be. We discussed several of these things about maintenance, responsibility,
Yep.
whether or not we should define how far down a class 6 road would building be allowed. I mean, you've probably journeyed on some of them in town.
Almost all. of them.
Yeah, so they go to nowhere and then somewhere. So go for it.
My family has a camp in Middleton, I'm from Middleton, on a class 6 road that we built just a short time ago. And this gentleman was pretty much spot on with what he said. Basically, the town, my parents acquired the land. They said, this is what we're looking to do, and the town basically said, that's fine. You just need to understand that, exactly right, if the place catches on fire, the town is obviously not going to drive down a mile out into the woods to put it out.
Yeah.
They also said that you can maintain the road. They just asked that you speak to the road agent, and kind of try and do it that way. But personally, I don't know why you'd want to limit not building on a class 6 road, but that's just my opinion. I mean, if people have lots out there and they want to build a camp, I'm not sure you should take that away from them,
So we have some history where we had a whole bunch of houses, 6, on a class 6 road. They were all built. And folks petitioned the town to make it a class 5 road. With a very emotional town meeting. And now it's a class 5 road. And now we're maintaining it. So it goes that way. I mean, once the structure's there, now it becomes, how well can you argue at a town meeting?
Well, it's if it's a residence, right?
Hmm?
Those are residences, correct?
Oh, yeah.
So you could limit it to not a primary residence.
I'm not sure
You know what
that's
I'm
correct.
saying?
I'm not sure. Because we're not talking, I don't think these people are talking camps.
Sure.
We're talking self-sufficient
Well,
houses.
Right, you've got 5 taxpayers. I can see where they want their road maintained, but.
Yeah, that's how it starts.
Yeah.
Greg?
Yeah, I wanted to go back and address Rick's comment about changing the idea of the warrant. The whole idea behind the warrant that I'm suggesting is instead of shall we study this, put it to the voters to say yay or nay once and for all. Because as Rich has pointed out many times, the current zoning says no, can't build on class 6. If enough people in town feel strongly one way or the other, it'll either pass or not pass.
To your point, if I recall, we were talking about 2 years ago about limiting distance down the road. We were looking at 500 to 1,000 feet, I think it was. In our survey of all the properties in town, there was only 5 or 6 lots that would be then buildable if we did that. So, just for context for new people, I think that the idea when we were discussing it then was to be very measured and deliberate in the ask to make sure that it's not, we're not opening it wide open for everybody. Yes, Ed, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You're patient.
Looking at it, we're talking about 350 feet frontage on a class 6 road. If we're gonna go with a 400-foot ordinance on a class 5 road or anywhere else, should that be changed to 400 as well?
Yes.
Question one. Second part of the question is,
Agreed.
assuming you had that and you meet all of the permit process set forth in the RSA and Brookfield regulations. So if the Brookfield regulations, what are the regulations? The zoning ordinances?
Yeah, I think that's what you meant by your wording there.
So what
The
is
RSA
it?
requires the selectmen to generate a bunch of conditions. No emergency vehicles, no liability to town, no, and then you gotta sign
Okay,
it,
so,
and it gets reported.
so this doesn't mean, assuming we changed both of them to 400-foot frontage,
Yeah.
this doesn't mean you would have to have 400-foot frontage on a class 5 road as well as
Right.
the 400 on a class 6 in order to build that.
400 feet of frontage on a class 6 road, and then I would suggest that we would say a distance from a class 5 road as the limiting factor.
Okay. Doesn't mean you would have to have 400 feet on a class 5.
That's correct.
Then it would be 5 acres if the other one passes
Yes,
as well.
yeah.
Well, it says existing lots, that have to be 5 acres. Existing
Unless
lots,
it's
it
an
could be any
existing
size.
acre lot, yeah,
Yeah,
or whatever.
yeah, it's only if you're subdividing. Yeah.
To that question, I believe the ordinances as they exist today, in that situation, if it was a 20-acre lot, you could still only, and it met the 400-foot criteria, you could still only put one house on it, right?
Right, no subdivisions.
Right.
Subdivision.
No subdivision, okay. Want to understand.
I get feedback from people in town all the time about keeping it rural.
Mm-hmm.
I never get feedback except from one or two people about class 6 roads. So I guess I'm not warm on it. I get other feedback, keep it rural, get big lots, but not many people say open up the roads.
Well, to Rich's point, with a little exaggeration, you got Tumble Down Dick Road is almost to Wolfboro. There's lots up there. There's, 4 houses on the other side that are Brookfield. And if that holds true, if people build a house, they petition the town, you're gonna have a yellow line coming down Tumble Down Dick Road, and it's gonna be an escape route from Wolfboro. And the summer traffic jams up Main Street and Central Street. And it's all gonna pour down, tumble down Moose Mountain, and out to 16.
I don't think you gotta worry about that, because you can't get across that road.
Well, if enough people petition, the gravel comes in and the hot top comes in, and it happens. That's how we got tumbled down to the point where it is right now, by petition.
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
Yes, Ed.
Just another one, in light of what Craig was saying, is just put this to a vote, either yay or nay, up or down vote on developing class 6 roads. If it passed and said yay, then this board would be responsible to develop a specific set of ordinances for class 6 roads. Is that correct? It wouldn't.
No, your selectmen would make all the building requirements.
Yes, the selectmen on that.
Could we add a survey that the people,
Regulations. What's that?
a survey about what wishes are of the townspeople for the March voting?
It's a little-
They get a little survey they can fill out.
It's a little late for that, Terry, I think. We're in November. I think, yeah, I think it's we're past that time. we at a stalemate here on this?
Take a vote.
We could take a vote. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we not consider developing on Class 6 roads.
So we wouldn't have this on the warrant if we
That's correct.
agreed with that.
We're done discussing it this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'd second that.
Any more discussion on it? All right. All in favor of not discussing this for the rest of the legislative year?
Aye.
Please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I oppose. All right.
Now, if the town feels strongly, they can get a petition warrant article with 25 signatures. If they feel strongly.
This is true. So this, lots of Class 6 roads will come off our proposed amendments. And we will just stick to our building lots and solar system for now. All right, that means we are nearing the end of our meeting and agenda. Do we have any member comments?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
What's our schedule look for? We have to have the amendments to the town clerk by the end of January.
Yes,
We have to have a couple of public hearings before that,
we'll have that one, yeah.
at least.
Yeah, at the beginning of January, was my plan. Yep,
Meeting of
beginning of January,
So we should pretty well be wrapped up in December.
yes. Yes.
Sounds like a busy month.
Well, I think next week we'll discuss some of our items that we discussed tonight.
And wrap them up. We gotta publish it. Next month is December.
I know next month's December. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. But we also have to float it in front of the town lawyer and make sure
Oh, yeah.
we're okay.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I want to just talk about these briefly next week, just so we can get to that point of where we can send them off to her. But we've made good progress here. Any other member comments?
I have one,
Go for it, Marshall.
and I don't know the answer, so it's a question.
Okay.
On Lightford Road, like 400 or 500 feet in, on the right-hand side, as you're going down, there's like a aluminum fence, and then there's like a whole landscape something that somebody said was going to be a soccer field.
I don't know.
Do you even know what I'm
I
even
don't
talking
know.
about?
I don't.
Anybody?
I know where the gate is.
Yeah, and then it's all like
Oh.
landscaped, if you will.
Oh.
It's
Meaning
Is
it's,
this on the dirt road or on the paved road?
it's off to the right.
It's
If you take a left here,
yeah,
it's on the right, just as you come to the bottom. There's a gate
Yeah.
on the right, and it goes into a very broad, wide, flat spot, which somebody, I don't know who told us that, but
yeah.
It is zoned residential agricultural.
does it mean you can make a soccer field?
If you want to have a field in your backyard and play soccer on it, I
There's
think
there's
you're
no
allowed.
property on it, just so
Pardon
you
me?
know. There's no house on it.
I know where you're talking.
Oh, you do know what I'm talking about.
So it's residential agricultural. A field, you're allowed to put a field in and play soccer on it.
I always thought that road went down to the Sanfordville water.
No, that's
Wells.
because we're down here on Lakers. Goes this way towards the solar panel on the right.
But it is
Yeah,
that like
that's what we're
wetland
talking
area. Yeah,
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
yeah.
It's what?
That's what they're talking about. Is
Where?
if you go out here, go down Lightford,
On the
go
right.
down the hill there on the right, the gate.
Yeah, that's where they leveled the field. Looks
Okay.
like.
All right.
Isn't that where the water Wells are too?
No,
That's further up.
down 109, almost
okay.
in Wakefield.
So if you were gonna, I'm just curious, again, I don't know. So if you were gonna build a soccer field, you can just do that, you don't need any permits?
If you're gonna put a lawn in, you're allowed to do that. Are you allowed to put fencing up and lights up and concession stands? Not in the residential area, but you can put a lawn in and play soccer on it. I think, in my opinion,
Is that what they're doing? I don't know.
I think that's what you're doing.
Oh, okay. So you don't need any permitting to do whatever it is that they're doing? Okay, fine, that's, I was just curious.
That's why we wanna change the zoning.
Cannot have a capacity of over 3,000 in the stadium.
All right, any other comments?
Thank you for letting me join the board for a second tour.
You're welcome, Mr. Surratt. All right, so it's 8:34, we'll adjourn this meeting. We'll meet next Monday, the 20th, for our continuation of our public hearing and discuss our warrant articles. The next regular scheduled meeting is December 11th.
8:34.